Our story starts like a fairy tale. I'm Bryce, and for the first 5 years of our marriage, my wife Heather was the center of my universe. She was vibrant, ambitious, and the love of my life. We had a beautiful home, great careers, and what I thought was an unbreakable bond. We were that couple, the one everyone looked up to. We talked about everything, from our dreams of traveling the world to the little details of our day. There were no secrets between us, or so I believed. The shift was subtle at first. It began about a year ago. Heather started working late more often. She'd come home exhausted, brushing off my questions with a tired smile, saying her new project at work was demanding. I didn't think much of it. I was proud of her ambition, her drive. I'd have dinner waiting for her, and we'd eat in near silence. The easy laughter that used to fill our home was replaced by a quiet tension. Her phone, once left casually on the counter, was now always in her pocket or face down. When I asked about it, she'd get defensive, saying she needed to be available for work emergencies. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I needed to trust her. After all, this was Heather, my Heather. Then came the business trips. They started happening every few weeks. She'd pack a small suitcase, kiss me goodbye with a distracted air, and be gone for a weekend. I'd call her in the evenings, and she'd sound distant. The background noise, always too quiet for a bustling hotel or a team dinner. She'd say she was in her room, preparing for the next day's meetings. I tried to push down the knot of suspicion forming in my stomach. I even suggested joining her on one of these trips, making a mini vacation out of it. She immediately shot the idea down, saying it was strictly professional and my presence would be a distraction. That one hurt. It felt like she was pushing me away, building a wall around a part of her life I wasn't allowed to see. The financial secrets started to pile up too. I handle our joint finances, and I started noticing odd charges on our credit card statement. Expensive dinners at restaurants I'd never heard of, charges for hotels in cities she never mentioned visiting. When I confronted her, she had a ready excuse for everything. The dinner was a client meeting. The hotel was a booking error that would be refunded. She was so convincing, so calm, that I'd end up apologizing for doubting her. I felt like I was going crazy, questioning my own sanity. Was I just an insecure husband? Or was something seriously wrong? The trust I once had in her was eroding, grain by grain, and I felt powerless to stop it. The breaking point came on a Tuesday evening. Heather was supposedly on another business trip, this time to a conference a few hours away. I was home alone trying to watch a movie, but my mind was racing. On a whim, I decided to check her location through our shared family app, something we'd set up for safety years ago and had forgotten about. I expected to see her icon at the hotel she'd mentioned. My heart stopped when I saw it. The little dot representing my wife was just 15 minutes away, in a residential neighborhood on the other side of town. It wasn't a hotel, it wasn't a conference center, it was a house. My hands were shaking. I grabbed my car keys, my mind a blur of confusion and dread. Driving to that address was the longest 15 minutes of my life. Every horrible possibility ran through my head. I parked down the street, my heart pounding in my chest. I watched the house, a cozy-looking suburban home. A few minutes later, the front door opened, and there she was. Heather, she was laughing, her head thrown back in a way I hadn't seen in months. And she wasn't alone. A man had his arm around her waist. He leaned in and kissed her, a long, lingering kiss full of a passion I hadn't shared with my wife in what felt like a lifetime. They walked to her car, and he kissed her goodbye before she drove away. I just sat there, frozen in my car, unable to breathe. The world as I knew it had shattered into a million pieces. She arrived home about an hour later, acting as if she'd just endured a long, tiring drive. She smiled at me, asked about my day, and started talking about the boring conference speakers. I couldn't even look at her. The sight of her made me physically sick. I just said, "Where were you, Heather?" The fake smile on her face vanished. She tried to stick to her story, but her voice wavered. "I told you I was at the conference." I just looked at her and said the address of the house. I watched all the color drain from her face. There was nowhere left for her to hide. The lies finally crumbled, and the whole ugly truth came pouring out. The man's name was Mark. He was a colleague from an old job, someone she'd reconnected with about a year ago. It started with lunches, then dinners, then weekends away, masked as business trips. He was married too. They had built a whole secret life together, a fantasy world where their responsibilities didn't exist. She cried, she apologized, she said it was a mistake and that it meant nothing.
Oh.
But her words were empty. How could it mean nothing? She had lied to me every single day for a year. She had looked me in the eye and built a fortress of deceit. Our entire marriage, the foundation of trust we had built, was a lie. The days that followed were a living nightmare. We were strangers living in the same house, a house that now felt cold and empty. Every memory was tainted. Every "I love you" she'd ever said now echoed in my mind as a potential lie. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I realized the woman I married didn't exist anymore. Or maybe she never had. The pain of her betrayal was one thing, but the deception was what truly destroyed me. She hadn't just cheated, she had systematically erased the trust that is the bedrock of any marriage. I knew I couldn't stay. There was nothing left to save. I filed for divorce. The process was agonizing. Every meeting with lawyers a fresh reminder of what I had lost. Heather begged for another chance, promising she would do anything to fix it. But the damage was done. A broken vase can be glued back together, but the cracks will always be visible. Our marriage was shattered beyond repair. It's been a few months now, and I'm slowly starting to rebuild my life. Some days are harder than others, but I know I made the right decision. I had to choose myself. I had to walk away from the wreckage of a marriage destroyed by secrets. It's a painful lesson, but one I'll never forget. Without honesty and trust, love is just an empty word. Thank you for listening to my story. Please subscribe for more content.